What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Dennis Clausen. What's going on, Dennis?
What up?
Nothing too much. I mean,
there's a tons of shit going on right now. Fucking trade rumors are going crazy. The NBA Finals is out of control. We're hearing shit. LeBron wants to go to Brooklyn. We hear Russ and Kyrie Irving getting spot. Like, what's going on?
I honestly have no idea. We have people resigning now. We have just everything going down with the whole. A lot of drama between Draymond and Durant and everything like that because of his podcast talking about Steph being the leader of the offense and all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, you still got, like you said, all these rumors going on. I mean, we're going to talk about it later. We got Jalen Brunson, with his dad signed as an assistant. You got Tyler Herro, who wants to start. Pat Riley's like, well, if you earn it, you earn it. There's a lot of things going on.
We'll talk about that. I was just going to say something, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Before
I was automatically going to blow up, and we're not even at that topic yet.
No, it makes sense because it's easy to blow up about. But let's start off with the NBA Finals because obviously that's the biggest thing going on right now. 2 games in. The first 2 games in Golden State, the finals are tied 1-1. Celtics came out, had a really good game that first game, but you also had a lot of missed opportunities and missed shots from Golden State. Then the whole thing flip-flops. Golden State hits a crazy amount of shots, but I'd say the only down part about Golden State, consistently down part, has been Klay Thompson so far. He has to get out of his slump. He hasn't been great, but all in all, back to Boston. They play tonight at, I think it's 8 o'clock, right?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Which is, I don't know why it's so late on the East Coast.
I know. But this is why I'm so tired all the time, because I go, I'll be all right the next day, so I'm gonna be up to like midnight, and the next day my tongue's gonna be hanging out of going down the back of my throat because I'm gonna be falling asleep.
No, and usually I feel like on the East Coast, most of the time, the games usually aren't 7 and 8, not 9 o'clock. Like, why is it getting even later on the East Coast now?
I don't know. Maybe they want people to call into work.
They could,
even though there's not many people watching the NBA Finals apparently. So.
I mean, probably because they're making it so damn late.
We just figured it out.
Because essentially, too, like, this is a good matchup. Boston versus Golden State is actually a really good matchup. You got, the young superstar talent in Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. And then you have the still, hasn't passed the torch yet, Steph Curry with Draymond and everything. Oh, real quick. Tyler is back.
Yes.
Tyler, we knew you weren't here last episode. We talked about it after the fact.
We were worried sick. Where the hell have you been?
Exactly. You can't scare us like that, Tyler.
I know. Come on, Tyler.
But
I'm going to cry. I'm so happy that he's back.
I know, right? I'm glad he's safe. I'm glad he's home. He didn't get kidnapped or anything. We're all good.
Tyler, blink twice if you're being held captive. We'll save you.
Send a 1 for come help. Send a 2 for you're all good.
Right.
But, yeah, the matchup is great. I mean, even the role players of both teams have been fun to watch. Like Al Horford going off in that first game. Robert Williams is a fun guy to watch on defense. Then on Golden State side, like Jordan Poole can light up the scoreboard. Kevon Looney has actually been a super important piece in this finals. Otto Porter Jr.
Kevon Looney's been a huge he was huge in the previous series too. The guy's an offensive rebounding, or just an overall, but especially he's a fucking monster on the glass. I don't know what else to say, and I don't know. With Kevon Looney playing as good as he has played, like, for one, why hasn't this guy been getting more time throughout the regular season? And two, what does that mean for James Wiseman?
Agreed. I mean, James
If he
Wiseman
ever
has
comes
to be
back.
sweating. Oh, yeah, if he ever comes back, that's a big thing. By the way, Tyler put a 2, so he's all good.
Oh, good. Thank God.
So we don't have to send any SWAT teams or anything. He's all good. But no, Kevon Looney has been showing that the rest of the bigs, I mean, minus Draymond, I'm not counting him in this, but the rest of the bigs on that roster are kind of expendable. Especially because Kevon Looney's only, what, like 27-ish? Or is he even younger than that?
He's 26.
That's it?
That is it.
So, I mean, he'll probably ask for some more money, but, I mean, you know, they're already way above the luxury tax as it is. I'm sure
So who cares?
if they really want to, they're not going to care to go a little bit even more over it by re-signing him to whatever he wants. But
I mean, so here's the thing. At game one, I mean, he didn't do anything offensively as expected, but he still chipped in 9 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and then in game 2 he had 7 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, 3 steals. So he's doing what he's supposed to, and then some. So
agreed.
The Warriors had Andre. Are we diving deep into this right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Andre Iguodala played in game 1. Gary Payton got the DNP, the dreaded DNP coach's decision. He didn't play in game 1.
Right.
Otto Porter Jr.'s foot is still fucked up. So Gary Payton Jr. or Gary Payton II got some run. I think he got 25 minutes in game 2. Porter got 15. Andre Iguodala is questionable last time I checked, with not a neck injury that kept him out for over a month, but now he's dealing with a right knee inflammation. And my estimation, I think the Warriors are better when Gary Payton II is on the floor. He's been instrumental on the defensive end. I think they just got to tell Iguodala, thank you for your services. You're out for the rest of the, we'll put you in uniform in case we need you for, a 30-second scenario or something. Other than that, I think all the minutes need to go to Otto Porter Jr. and Gary Payton II. Even Belitzia got 10 minutes or so in game 2. So the thing that I was saying, though, which I said last week, all right, everybody was blowing their load after game 1. All right, everybody was going, I can say that, we're an adult show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was going crazy after game 1 when the Celtics went up huge. But just like I said, though, all right, I said if you shut Jason Tatum down, there's not consistency anywhere else. You did get good production from Al Horford in game 1. However, game 2 is a different story. Jason Tatum has kind of been neutralized for pretty much this entire postseason. So what's been going on now is that you're not getting reliable production from Jalen Brown. Derek White's been doing nothing. Al Horford in game 2 was 1 for 4. Robert Williams played 14 minutes. Marcus Smart went 1 for 6. Jalen Brown was 5 for 17. Derek White was 4 for 13. So just like I said, if you stop Jason Tatum, you're going to stop the Celtics because they don't have anybody who's consistent. That doesn't mean guys like Al Horford won't get hot again. That doesn't mean Jalen Brown won't step up. But Jalen Brown has been completely underwhelming for the most part throughout the postseason. He hasn't looked like it's pretty much been like iso ball Jason Tatum, and Jalen Brown hasn't done anything. Robert Williams is basically disappeared. Their depth on the bench is nothing. So for anybody who thought that the Warriors were just going to get run over in the NBA Finals, you're on crack because Steve Kerr is too good of a coach. That team is too deep. And, when Clay's been struggling, but you still have Jordan Poole who could step up. Steph Curry can step up. Draymond Green can contribute a little bit offensively. You can go to a guy like Kuminga. Otto Porter, even though he's a defensive guy. So you have so many options in Golden State who can do so many good things. And that's going to be hard to stop. I don't care what anybody says after game 1. I don't see the Celtics taking this down. They won game one. They had a huge run, but then the Warriors responded in game two by having a huge run of their own. So they're not going to stop the Warriors
Yeah, I mean,
unless Jason Tatum has a great 5 games. If they make it to 7, if if
right.
if he has a great game every single game, he's the only guy who can really score on that team.
Oh yeah, and like you said, I mean, the Celtics have the talent enough to pop off at any moment because, as you saw with the Miami game, they would win one game by 20, lose one game by 20, win one game by 15, lose another game by 12. Like, they are the definition of hot and cold team, and the only consistent person that can, I mean, usually consistent person is Jason Tatum, but like even he in this postseason run has put up like I think it was game one of this game that they actually won. He only had what like 15 points or something. He had let me
He
see
didn't
here.
do
He had
anything.
12 points, but he had 13 assists. So I mean, he at least was able to, you know, make up for the lack of scoring in other departments, whereas the rest of the team, like a Jalen Brown, like a Derek White, like those guys, if they're not producing and scoring, then they better be picking it up on some other end to help out the team and help the team win. Because if, especially with Derek White, if he's not playing like some great elite defense and he's not scoring, then he's not providing really anything for the team because that's exactly what he's there to do is defense and score. Like
So
they're not looking at him to be the primary playmaker on the team or anything like that. So you got 2 jobs. You got to at least do one of them.
and he ain't doing any of them. So I mean, Tatum
Exactly.
Tatum still had like 28, 29 points or whatever the fuck it was in game two. However, he shot like shit. So
Yeah.
um, when you if you can keep Tatum away from scoring 30, 31, 32, 34, he's capable of scoring a shit ton of points. But if you could even keep him to 25 to 30 points a game and shut down the other guys, which is much easier to do because
Mm-hmm.
even coming into this series, Marcus Smart is not the most consistent shooter on the planet. Like we've talked about, he can get hot.
Kind of lost you audio wise there. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but sorry everyone, just some technical difficulties here. Your mic didn't come unplugged or anything, did it? Because I still can't hear you. Um, has all the audio in the right places. I don't know what just happened here. Hold on, everybody. Let me figure this out. Hold on one sec. Let me stop sharing this and I'm gonna re-add you there. That didn't even do anything. Can you hear me at all? Can can you hear me? No? This is weird. I've never had this happen before. I even have what? 1 second, everybody. Can you hear me now? Try to re-enter the studio. Oh, I hear something on your end now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good. All right. I have no idea what just happened, everybody, but we're good now.
Back. All right. So here, for one, we do this live, so shit like that happens. Two, I'll never be the fucking host because I have no idea what to do.
Honestly, I was sitting there saying like I don't know what to do either, but we figured it out.
That's what happens when you do live shit. I think that's the first technical difficulty we've ever had on the Atlantic Files.
I know, that was weird. I was like, of course it's right now. All of a sudden, all the audio drops out.
And we were shit hot. We were on a roll.
I know. Anyway,
is Tyler still there?
I think he is. It says there's still plenty of people watching right now, so
okay.
He's probably still here. But I was gonna share the screen, but right now I'll just say
no. Don't
I know I'm not gonna share it anymore because that's what's the culprit to everything here. So what I was gonna say is just looking at like the average of the two games so far. I mean, Steph Curry has been great. I mean, 45% from the field, 46% from three, 31.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 3 steals a game on top of that. And then Andrew Wiggins has been great on defense as well. 1.5 blocks, half a steal a game, but also putting in 15.5 points. he's also shooting 40% from three. Jordan Poole 42.9% from three. I mean, they're doing everything we expected the Warriors to do, but on top of that, they have 4 people averaging double figures. Kevon Looney's averaging 8 and 8. Otto Porter's 7.5. Draymond is 6, 8, and 6 with 1.5 steals. I mean, they have so many people contributing in so many different ways, where then you look at the Celtics. Yes, they have 5 people contributing in double figures right now, average-wise, but a lot of that is just from game 1. And right now, coincidentally, Jalen Brown actually has the most in average points at 20.5 because Tatum has 20, just because of that bad first game. But then Derek White has an average of 16.5. However, in game 2, Derek White only put up 12 compared to his game 1 where he put up 21. So, like you said, the consistency is not there. The averages, I'm sure, are just going to return to the mean. So there's a lot just going on in favor of Golden State. And Tyler makes a good point right here, too. Steph Curry has actually been showing that he can play some serious defense. He's been actually playing some pretty good, like, disciplined defense. Not saying he's been locking people down necessarily. Like, I'm not saying he's like a, Tony Allen Defensive Player of the Year type, but he's played much better defense than we've given to him.
Yeah, but the thing is that with Steph Curry, he's not a horrible defender. He's not a great defender, but he's just been such a good shooter throughout his career that people just forget that he's capable of doing other things.
Right.
So I think, though, too, it's gonna come down to, for the Warriors, I think it's going to be important because even if Andre Iguodala plays, who the hell knows what's going to happen with him? It's going to be important that they get Otto Porter, like a healthy Otto Porter Jr. on the floor, because he's the top bench option. So if he can't get on the floor, if he's dealing with that foot ailment that cost him 2 games in the previous series, well, pretty much 3 games because he only played 6 minutes in one of the games, against the Mavericks, they're going to have to rely on Gary Payton II. The thing with Otto Porter Jr. is that he's not as good defensively. He's a great defensive player, but he's much better offensively than Gary Payton II is. So if Otto Porter Jr. can't play and Andre Iguodala can't play, or they're severely limited for some reason, that's going to mean a ton of minutes for Jordan Poole. That's going to mean they're running their starters heavy, and that's going to mean a lot of minutes for Gary Payton. So it'll be interesting, too, if they see if guys like Kuminga come out, if Belizia comes out, or Moody comes out, or Juan Toscano, and like those guys, like it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if Otto Porter Jr. needs to play and he needs to be healthy, because if he doesn't, that's going to tip a little bit into the Celtics' favor.
Agreed. And yeah, your point about Andre Iguodala too is just kind of like at this point in the game, they don't really need him anymore in terms of like they don't need him to be a Finals MVP candidate anymore or anything like that. If he can give you a few quality minutes a game, sure, that helps them a good bit just to rest somebody at that point in time. But all in all, I agree that Otto Porter Jr. and Gary Payton II should be getting more of those minutes than Andre Iguodala should.
And they probably will if they're both questionable, but they've been questionable throughout the series. Gary Payton II was available in game 1. He just didn't play in favor of Iguodala. And then when Iguodala shit the bed in game 2, Gary Payton got 25 minutes, which was kind of strange considering Otto Porter got like 25 minutes in game 1. And then he regressed a little bit and got 15. So that would make me think that his foot is bothering him more than they're letting on. Like, he's going to be available more than likely, but how available is going to be a different thing. I think Gary Payton II is going to get most of the bench minutes behind Jordan Poole, obviously. That means we're going to have a lot of minutes for Looney, a lot of minutes for Curry and Clay. And, if Klay Thompson's struggling, that's fine. He's still a good defensive player, so he can still contribute even if he's playing like dog shit.
But that's the thing that's also scary for the Celtics is the fact that throughout these two games, it's tied 1-1, and Clay has only shot 30% from the floor and 26.7% from three, and he's only had 13 points a game. The moment he finds his shot again, and while the others are playing as well as they are right now, that's lights out. I mean, that's game over.
Yeah, but even if he doesn't find a shot, when you have Looney underneath the rim getting rebounds the way he does, you can afford some mistakes like that, especially when you have guys like Andrew Wiggins and Curry and all those other guys who can score. He could suck throughout the rest of the series and still, if he shoots only 35% from three, the Warriors could still get by with that, especially because he's so good defensively.
Oh, yeah. They definitely can still get by. I'm just saying if he all of a sudden starts shooting 40% from here on out, then they'll win even faster.
Oh, yeah, over.
Like it goes from a 7-game, 6-game series to like a 5-game series at that point if he starts going crazy like that.
And then my 4-1 prediction will be correct.
True. It definitely would be. So, let's move away from the finals for now. Let's get into some of the news going around. One thing that you wanted to comment on the moment I brought it up, Tyler Herro. He says in I think it was like the exit interview or whatever it may be, said that he wants to start. Pat Riley said a little bit later, if you want to start, go ahead in training camp and go earn it. I agree with that sentiment. I don't think Tyler Herro should just be given anything. I don't think any player should just be given anything. If you want something, go and get it. And I think it's that simple. And I appreciate the fact that Pat Riley wasn't just like, yeah, he got Sixth Man of the Year. That means he should start now. Like, Lou Williams has multiple Sixth Man of the Years. And honestly, when the Sixers tried to start him, he wasn't that good. So some people are just made for that bench unit, and there's nothing wrong with that because you can be an elite sixth man and get all the respect you deserve and not have to start. But if you're coming out saying you want to start, then you got to start showing that you're worth starting, first off. And second off, I brought this up last week. His defense was the reason they lost a handful of games. His defense is what other teams hunted, found the mismatch, punished them for it, and they had to bring him out in multiple games. So if you want to be a starter and you want to be in there at the end of games and you want to do all that, your defense has to get better on top of being way more consistent than you have been.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even when he was starting, he started 10 games during a regular season. He still averaged over 20 points a game. The guy was the Sixth Man of the Year. First off, there's nothing wrong with being a good sixth man, a good bench player. There's being a sixth man and a great bench option is just as valuable as being a stud in the starting lineup. Like,
right.
If that's his role coming off the bench and providing that type of offense, there's nothing wrong with that. However, he wants to start. So, yeah, defensively, he sucks. But, I mean, Pat Riley, he's got to realize that he's barking up the wrong tree. I mean, he could say to Tyler Herro in confidence, you got to step up defensively. He doesn't need to throw him out like that and call him out. He's not calling. He said Lowry needs to get into shape, which was great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Lowry looks like a little meatball out there. He can barely, he weighs. In my opinion, he's too heavy, and I'm the last guy who should be commenting on somebody's weight, but I'm not in the NBA, so I think Lowry's too heavy. He's too compact. I think he's at the age where he needs to focus more on flexibility, conditioning, that type of stuff, and no more worrying about, bulking up and all that other stuff.
I mean, if you're undersized height-wise and getting older, then gaining weight isn't going to help you in your NBA career.
No, it's going to hurt you. I mean,
Exactly.
If anybody, though, he's going to call out anybody, I would have started with Lowry. Even though, what did he expect when they brought Kyle Lowry into Miami?
I was about
I
to say
mean,
he looked the same when they brought him in.
but he was always street clothes to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to be hobbled and hurt and stuff like that, and deal with personal issues, I don't know what the personal issues were, so I can't comment on that. I do know the injuries, though, and I could comment on that. He looked like garbage. He played like garbage. He looked like garbage. And if anybody's going to be attacked on that team, then I would start with second or first Bam Adebayo, because he played like complete dog shit too. Whenever you get somebody big and scarier, Joel Embiid, um, Robert
Even Al
Williams.
Horford.
Yeah, he wasn't the second option. So honestly, for you to be calling out your sixth man of the year, the guy who, yeah, he sucks on defense, but continuing to coddle Bam and not give him the same level of criticism, because I didn't see him criticizing Bam like that.
True.
You know, it needs to start there. It also has to start with Jimmy Butler. I mean, the guy missed some time with right knee inflammation throughout the postseason. You don't do that. You know, if you're,
I agree.
I mean, you play. That's what you're there for. You tape that thing up and you play. So to pick on Tyler Herro and to call him out in front of everybody for his lack of defense, I don't think was the right move, especially for a guy that young. He should be praising him because he was the sixth man of the year. He should be telling him this type of stuff in confidence behind closed doors. The media doesn't need to know everything. We get it, Pat. You're a badass, blah, 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 but you're picking fights with the wrong people. You need to start with Jimmy Butler. For one, you need to rein him in and tell you need to stay off Twitter. You need to stop acting like a buffoon on the floor. You need to stop picking fights with your coach. And then they need to get Bam in and go, where are you at? Because you look like shit in the postseason too. So, but for them to say that Herro has to earn his way into the starting lineup, you have Max Strus in the lineup. Okay, he's good. He's a decent starter. You put Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup, who's better than Kyle Lowry at this point. PJ Tucker starts. What the fuck does he do? He's like hit or miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Duncan
but you kind of
Robinson.
have
Where
to
the
have one
fuck
of
is
those
Duncan
type of
Robinson?
guys, though. Duncan Robinson's the biggest. I mean, they paid him a huge contract last offseason? And he was unplayable. He literally only got in for like a few minutes in like 3 games. Actually, I have it up right here. Duncan Robinson technically got into 13 of their 18 games. Technically. But averaged 12
I'll put that
minutes.
up on the screen.
I'm not. But averaged 12 minutes in those 13 games. Actually, I don't even know if he played in all 13 of those games. It might have just had that as like he suited up, but I don't know.
Yeah, he was available. He wasn't hurt by any means.
Right.
Doesn't
Here we
mean he
go.
played.
In the playoffs. So the very first game of the playoffs, he had 22 minutes in that game against Atlanta, and then it went 6, 14, 9, 12, DNP, 55 seconds, DNP, DNP, 13, 4, DNP, and then against Boston, he actually played 6 of the 7 games. He did not play in game 7, but it was 14 minutes, 4 minutes. In 2 of their back-to-back losses, he played 23 minutes where they lost by 20, 27 minutes where they lost by 13, and then they won the next game when he only played 5 minutes again.
And if I recall, Lowry wasn't available for some of those games against Boston, which would explain his increase in minutes. But as soon as Lowry comes back, it's it's right back to where it was. So I think the Heat. I completely 110% agree with you, Tyler. And the only reason I don't agree with that is because you need to take the word might out of there. He is overrated.
And for those listening at home, Tyler said Bam might be overrated. So, yeah. Especially because, like we just talked about, Bam's supposed to be the second option here. Jimmy Butler led the team with 27 points a game in the playoffs, 7.4 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 2.1 steals. Yeah. Bam Adebayo was second on the team with 14.8 points a game. Jimmy Butler had 13 more a game than the supposed second option. 3 was Tyler Herro with 12.6. Then it was Strus with 10.9. Then it was Oladipo with 10.6.
And that was another thing that I'll never understand. Like, you know how they found hieroglyphics and Stonehenge, they can't figure out how the fuck that thing was built. I can't understand why Victor Oladipo didn't play. You put Kyle Lowry on the floor, he's not in shape, he's hurt. Literally, the guy was running around holding his hamstring all the time. You're going to put him on the floor? You need Kyle Lowry that bad? No. Victor Oladipo was healthy. Get him out there. And if he tears an Achilles again, who cares? Just don't re-sign him.
Kyle Lowry shot 29.1% from the floor, 24% from 3. And free throw percentage was even a little bit less, I think, than his career at 78%. And on top of that, 7.8 points a game. And he just barely is the team leader in assists per game at 4.7, just edging out Jimmy Butler's 4.6. But I will say this also. The ball doesn't move with Miami. Like, when everyone's on fire and hitting shots, maybe they start to move the ball a little bit. But the fact that your leading assist man is 4.7 assists, that's it? Like, there's got to be a real point guard out there somewhere that can actually stay healthy for you. Because, obviously, Lowry isn't it. So they're definitely going to have to rethink that whole thing there. And with Bam also, Bam averaged 8 rebounds a game. Again, Butler has 7.4. So how the hell is Bam, who's like 6'11", 6'10", only getting not even a full rebound more than Jimmy Butler per game?
Well, here's the thing about Jimmy Butler. He's one of the best players in the entire league. So, that's expected. I'm not even concerned about his work on the glass. I'm more concerned about his lack of offense.
Oh, that's huge too. Yeah.
So here's the deal. Okay, Kyle, for Pat Riley to come out there and say that Kyle, the team can win as it's assembled. No, you can't. You can't win as it's assembled. Kyle Lowry's a fucking dumpster fire right now. All right, Utah's looking to make some moves. All right, we've heard Donovan Mitchell, and we might be segueing right now, but we've heard Donovan Mitchell's name get brought up, especially after Quin Snyder left. But it wouldn't be a bad idea if you moved on from Bam. Especially, even if you got Rudy Gobert back for something, if it came down to where you're going to move Lowry and get and slide Bam over the 4, because he's undersized. I think having Rudy around would certainly help things out. But Agreed. Then you got to give up Tyler Herro, but you're not going to start him anyway, so you can't value him that much.
Agreed. And my last thing I'll say about Miami too, the thing that I was saying about like the playmakers and actually guys getting assists. You look at the 2 teams in the finals. Golden State has 2 people averaging 6 or more assists, and then Jordan Poole at 4, and then a few guys at 2 assists a game. Boston, again, 2 guys at 6 or more assists a game. There's 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2. Like, Miami couldn't share the ball because no one could actually score other than Jimmy Butler. So most of the assists are going to Jimmy Butler, but somehow Jimmy Butler also leads the team in assists.
Well, here's what it boils down to. There's a reason the Celtics are in the finals, and there's a reason why the Warriors are in the finals. And part of the reason is shit like that.
Exactly.
And I'll say it again, Pat Riley, you're on crack if you think that this team can win an NBA title, because they can't.
Agreed. And I will just say, yes, Tyler Herro was a very good offensive player and helped a lot on offense in the playoffs, but I don't think he's free of any criticism either
Yeah,
going
but you
forward
want to call him
and
out
wanting to
like
start.
that? You're gonna use him as your scapegoat?
Oh, no, I think he should have called everybody out except Jimmy Butler. Don't get me wrong.
I would have called him
Like,
out too.
I mean, Butler was the reason they even got as far as they did.
Right, but also, I mean, you got to question somebody's commitment when you're tweeting Joel Embiid. You got to question somebody's commitment when they're missing games because of knee inflammation in the postseason. All right, so come on here.
No, I get it. I
And
mean,
this
I
is
definitely get
classic.
the injury issue, too.
This is classic Jimmy Butler. This is classic. Same shit in
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota, same shit in Chicago. This is what has stopped him from being. He has no chin. He's got a chin made of glass. He can never stay healthy, and he's full of on the court and off the court antics. So
Yeah.
he's ruined
I
it for
mean,
himself.
true. And like you said, I think they definitely have to go for somebody like Zach LaVine, somebody like Donovan Mitchell, because like you said, we were going with a little segue there. So Quin Snyder stepped down. No more coach. I haven't seen any rumors about who the head coach would be. I don't know if you've seen any, but I haven't.
Yeah, so
seen
they're
anything just yet.
Fizdale. He's not returning to the Lakers as an assistant, so he's on there. Terry Stotts is on the menu. So they have some. They have, and I suppose they want to do this quickly, like get this done quickly. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they're asking Donovan Mitchell actively who he wants to be the coach.
He don't care.
Because, well, I'm just saying, like, if they want to keep him and if they want to make him happy, you better be asking the man who he wants as his coach. Otherwise, that gives him even more of a reason to want out.
This guy is going to look for any reason to get out of Utah. All right.
I mean, as he should, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame him, but you sign. You know how I feel about guys signing contracts. You know what I mean? Like you signed your contract, so eat shit the next 4 years. I mean, what are you gonna? So you're gonna use the team basically to get the bird rights and the extra cash, but then as soon as shit goes downhill, you're just gonna start politicking your way out of it. It doesn't work that way. So here's the thing: like there were reports, Woj came out and said that Mitchell was disheveled and unsettled after Quin Snyder stepped down and resigned. It didn't matter if there were rumors that he wanted out even when Snyder was there. So now he's going to use this as more of a reason to plead his case to the public that Utah is a terrible place and they don't have a championship roster, which they don't. They never have. And now I want out. I want to go do what everybody else does and go somewhere else. And no, I mean, I'm sorry you signed the deal, and don't use Quin Snyder as a reason why you want the people to not shit all over you because you're requesting to get out of Utah.
I don't understand why he wouldn't have just wanted to get out of there the very moment he could have when the contract was up in the first place. Because
of money.
I mean, I know he wanted the money, but
I mean that's the way the NBA is structured.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the way the NBA is structured. If you stay on the team, you get more money, you get more years, you get more money. So obviously, guys know this. They're going to sign the deal, and when they want out, they can pull their same bullshit that they always do. Lillard's done it. How many AD has done it? DeMarcus Cousins has done it. And these are guys just off the top of my head that I'm thinking about who have done the same shit where they get their James Harden. Oh, James, you're 110% correct on that. You get your money. You get your money because you get more. You make it all NBA first team, so you're going to get even more money. And then all of a sudden you want the fuck out of there. That's what happens.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I get the whole business part. My thing was...
No, I know you do.
The last time Utah was anything worthwhile was John Stockton and Karl fucking Malone.
And Mark Eaton. Goddamn right.
Everywhere in between. Even the Darren Williams Utah Jazz. they weren't really that great. Darren Williams had some like good years and everything, but nobody actually thought of them as a real championship contender. Even in the Karl Malone era, they made the finals like once or twice? Once, I think. And Michael Jordan beat them. So like on top of that, Utah, is that really even a great place to live? No offense to the people who do live in Utah, but like, come on.
I mean, I've said it before. Who the fuck would want to live in Utah?
The two things I know, we've talked about this. The two things that I know that I ever hear about Utah is Salt Lake City and Mormons. That's it.
And mountains.
Exactly.
It's hard to breathe because you're up so high.
Exactly. But I remember that one guy who got kicked off like the BYU basketball team because he had like sex with his girlfriend or something.
Good for him.
But so,
I mean, how can you punish somebody for that? I mean,
I know, right?
When the moment strikes you,
especially in college,
I can't walk. I couldn't walk away from something like that.
It's his girlfriend too. It's not even like he was, off with random people on a one-night stand.
I mean, I could relate to that type of thing because I had, tons of proposals and during my younger days, I'm like,
of course.
Yeah, oh yeah. But anyways, here's the thing with Utah, because I'm mad now. Now I'm pissed.
Yep.
All right, so here's the thing. Everybody was like, oh, Utah, blah, blah, blah. All right. Your starting lineup at the time, at the start of the season, was Gobert, fucking Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell. Okay, so Mike Conley has had a hamstring issue for 2 years. All right, get rid of him. I'd actually rather see him in Miami because I'd rather have Mike Conley as my starting point guard than Meatball.
I mean, if you're going to have a street clothes guy, I'd rather have street clothes Conley.
Right. So Joe Ingles is gone. Bogdanovich is the only one who's relatively capable of serving as the number 2 scoring option. Then you have Royce O'Neal. What the fuck does he do? He doesn't do anything. He just sits there. He's like the Solomon Hill of the Utah Jazz. He stands on the floor and does nothing. He doesn't score. He doesn't do it. Occasionally he'll have a good game, but other than that, he doesn't do a goddamn thing. All right. Donovan Mitchell doesn't care anymore. Rudy Gobert's too busy being mad at Donovan Mitchell because he said he was the COVID spreader and whatever the fuck else was going on. And then your bench options are Eric Pascal and DeForest Buckner and
Jordan Clarkson,
who is no longer the sixth man of the year, and those are just guys I'm bringing off the top of my head. And then Hassan Whiteside, who is probably one of the best backup centers in the league. All right, he's not committed. He's like, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I could go make some money somewhere else. And actually, so that team right now just needs to be torn apart. And no, this is not Dennis talking about the Boston Celtics, a completely different scenario. That team needs to be torn apart. So if you could get Tyler Herro out of the deal and get a shit ton of draft picks, because Miami's not going to be that good, even if they add Donovan Mitchell. The East is too good for them to be that consistent of a team. Blow the whole thing up. Get rid of Bogdanovich. Get rid of Rudy Gobert. Get rid of Donovan Mitchell. Get rid of everybody. Get draft picks. Go Thunder. Go Thunder style. Load up on 28 first-round picks over the next 4 years.
Right. I mean, the telltale sign should be the fact that last season they were first in the West. They had a 52-20 record. They had the 4th best offense, the 3rd best defense in the league. The starting 5 was essentially the same. It was Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich, Gobert, Conley. And then Ingles started a bunch of games when Conley was hurt. Clarkson was your backup.
All the time.
Exactly. Clarkson was your 6th man of the year type of player. George Niang played a lot off the bench. Derek Favors. They even had Ilyasova in there a little bit. They had Mie Oni, the guy from Yale, in there. They had some people, And when they went to the playoffs, nobody really trusted them to actually win the finals. I mean, I remember there was like ESPN analysts and stuff saying like, oh yeah, Utah's going to make the final, all this kind of stuff, like Utah, just because of Gobert's defense and Donovan Mitchell's offense. Cool. You have one guy playing really good defense, you have one guy playing really good offense. That was it. Once you hit the playoffs, defenses from the other teams got better. The rest of the role players weren't hitting the threes that they were hitting during the regular season, and they flame out yet again. In that postseason, Donovan Mitchell put up like 33 points a game, and they didn't even get past the second round. So that season alone should have told you this team isn't doing shit. The team's not going anywhere.
Preach.
So, I mean, even I wear this shirt that has the Jazz logo, but it's Philly, because nobody gives a fuck about the Jazz.
That's why I said they should be renamed the Utah Jizz.
Although the Mormons might be a little upset about that.
Yeah, but does that count if there's no jizz?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't think so.
I will also say, breaking news update: Ben Simmons is done with the recovery phase from his May 5th back surgery and is well into the rehab phase. Projections at the time had him back on the court in 3 months, and he hasn't had any hiccups or setbacks to change that.
He must be mentally stable at this point, too.
I guess.
He might need one of those Mormon girls up there, because if anybody's going to fucking set him straight, it's, a couple ladies. That'll make you forget your back problems real quick.
True.
Know what I mean? So what you're saying is he'll be back in January. Got it.
Well, it said 3 months, so from May. So that'd be August?
May, June, July, August. Yeah, August.
Yeah.
So yeah, February sounds good. I don't believe any of that shit, because they said the same thing about Klay Thompson. Remember, Klay Thompson's going to be back by Christmas. Who wasn't back by Christmas? Klay Thompson.
True. Oh, and then the rumors about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard too.
Yeah, how about James Wiseman's going to be back on Christmas Day? They're targeting James Wiseman to come back on. Nope. Not only James Wiseman might not even be back this Christmas.
Honestly, at this point, it's not like they need him.
No, they got Looney.
Exactly. So at this point, if I was the Warriors, I'd probably trade Wiseman to like a younger team, get some more picks back from him, and something else for like the bench that might another bench big man or something.
Yeah, get rid. I mean, I don't know why they drafted him to begin with. There were so many other options available.
Like if they got Anthony Edwards,
LaMelo Ball. Did LaMelo Ball
as well?
Who went? Wiseman went first.
Yeah.
And then it was LaMelo. Don't put the screen up.
I'm not putting. What draft was that? 2021.
2020.
2020. Oh yeah.
No, it was
20. Yeah, 2020. Let's see. Number 1 was Anthony Edwards. Then it was James Wiseman.
All right, but then after that we had LaMelo Ball.
Yep.
And then who went 4?
Patrick Williams, who would also be a pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. No. Who? Keep going. Do like 10 of them.
Okoro. There was Okongwu. Okongwu would have been a nice backup big.
I would rather have him.
Exactly. Obi Toppin.
Yeah.
There was Halliburton was all the way down at 12.
Okay.
Even Cole Anthony or Isaiah Stewart.
See, there was
Sadiq Bey would have fit in perfectly.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess Wiseman was. I mean, the only really one that you can is the LaMelo Ball, because I mean, they could have put LaMelo at shooting guard or something, Steph at point guard, Clay at small forward, have Wiggins go like they could have figured it out.
Oh yeah, they would have found something to do.
I mean, have him come off the bench. Who cares?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I
for a
agree.
little while, I wouldn't kill him. So here's the thing with the Jazz, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in Los Angeles who wants out.
Russell Westbrook.
Bring Russell Westbrook in. If
Oh,
you can
okay.
if you could get like Taylor Horn Tucker and maybe some picks and maybe Westbrook for a little bit, or shit, get rid of Anthony Davis. If I were the Lakers, I'd be trying to get rid of Anthony Davis in a heartbeat. And I'm glad Darvin Ham came out, who already is +1 in Big Sexy's book, because he already said that Anthony Davis needs to be consistent from a health standpoint, because he's not.
And he said that Russell Westbrook has a lot left in the tank, which you've been saying as well.
And people like scoffed at that. They were like, "Ooh, I can't believe that." That goes to my view of Russell Westbrook. How everybody shits on him. They're talking about sending Kyrie please, I'll take Russell Westbrook in a heartbeat. I'll take him in a heartbeat.
But also
Because
on
at
top
least
of that,
he's
like,
available.
yeah. And on top of that, did you see the whole on I think it was First Take, Stephen A had JJ Redick and CJ McCollum on there, and he talked about like, oh, how it looked weird that Russell Westbrook showed up to the Lakers press conference with Darvin Ham, and CJ and JJ were like, no, that's what you want out of your star players. Like, he was a professional. He came, he showed his face, he showed support for this new head coach, and he doesn't even know if he's going to be on the team later, but he's still there showing his support. And like, you can't fault him for that. And then all of a sudden Stephen A was like, no, I was talking about like that looks dumb for the Lakers. And it's like, no, you were trying to talk shit on Russell Westbrook just like everybody else is, even though this man is one of the most professional stand-up players in the league and definitely still has plenty to give any team that he would be shipped to.
The NBA needs more guys like Russell Westbrook.
Oh yeah,
because the guy plays all the time. He might bitch about a bad call. He hates the refs. He'll bitch about that, but that's okay. When he just shows up and he just plays. So
yep.
Anthony Davis played 130 games only in the past 3 seasons in Los Angeles. That's not a fucking problem to anybody.
I know.
All right, so and people are shit all over Darvin Ham already by him praising Russell Westbrook. I think that's a fantastic move. What that guy needs to be, he needs to be built back up, not put on a bench.
On top of that, as a coach, what are you going to do? Shit on your player, make your trade stance even worse. So even if you do trade him, it's like you have no leverage now because even your head coach just talked shit on him.
And that goes back to my philosophy, which is if you shit on your player and everything gets public that the guy doesn't want to be there, you're automatically losing in the leverage department.
Exactly.
But Russell Westbrook has plenty of gas left in the tank. People say shit about, he's turning over. We talked about it. He's less turnovers than I think the lowest of his career almost for turnovers. Yep. All right. He could never shoot from long distance, so who cares? But
I don't know what people were expecting.
Yeah, he brings attitude that nobody else has. He is still a great finisher, unlike his former teammate, James Harden, who can't finish a goddamn thing. Literally just throws the ball all over the place. Just Russell Westbrook is a guy you want on your team, and if I were the Nets, I would seriously consider trading Kyrie, because once Kyrie gets to Los Angeles, him and LeBron are just going to start going at it again anyways. So
probably.
So trade him to LA, get Russell Westbrook back, and get Taylor Horn Tucker back in it too, so you had some bench depth. Because we don't know if you're going to get Bruce Brown back or not. We don't know if Patty Mills is coming back. We don't know any of those things. So let's make the moves.
That's a good segue to Kyrie Irving's future in Brooklyn.
This one I didn't mean to do it this time.
No, I get it. But there's been rumors for some reason, about him signing in Philadelphia in free agency. I don't see that ever happening. I don't know why that's even a rumor. Then I also see rumors of him getting to a point where he's going to extend in Brooklyn, which is probably the most likely of everything.
Yeah, but do they want him to extend?
I
It's
mean,
not such a lock that
that's the
they're going
big
to
question.
offer him a long deal.
Right. And that's the biggest question out of all of this is like, do they actually want him to be there that long? And do you want to pay him that much money? Because they're running into the same exact issue the Sixers are running into. They didn't have enough money really to get the quality role players around their superstars to deliver anything even close to a title. You and I have talked about this a few weeks now, where the whole super team and then ring chaser veterans don't really work out as much anymore. Right now, you have one semi-deep team, one really deep team in the finals. And on top of that, the teams they had to go through were other pretty deep teams with very nice benches that all wiped out those super teams that just had the aging people around them or the young people that are very one-dimensional. So you have to have the money to actually go get these other players. That's the same thing. Like, this whole thing with Kyrie is also my whole issue with the Sixers and James Harden is, all right, James Harden opts into his player option, which is for like $43 million or some bullshit like that. And now, who the hell are you going to sign?
I was going to say more than the gross domestic product of Argentina.
Exactly. And so, like, who are you going to sign as, the to bolster the bench that everyone's been saying that you need? In Brooklyn, okay, you might get Ben Simmons back now, but just Ben Simmons doesn't take you from getting swept in the first round to a championship. So there's a lot more you got to do to actually make up for that disconnect there.
Well, here's the thing. The Nets have all the leverage in this, all right? They can offer him, like we were talking about earlier, they can offer him more money than any other teams can.
Yep.
All right, so... But Kyrie should be made to either prove that he's earned that contract. So if he wants to opt in, that's fine, but you're not getting... until you prove to us that you're willing to... commit. We're not offering you that. All right. So that's what they need to do. And if he doesn't like that, well, then be like, well, here's what we'll do then. We can offer you, the extension, but we're going to do a sign and trade, and we're trading you. So sayonara.
If I was Brooklyn, you know how like in the NFL you can give guys incentives for like scoring a certain amount of touchdowns or whatever. If I was Brooklyn, I'd be like, if you play more than 60 games next season, we'll give you your full max. Otherwise, we're paying you half of it.
That Lamar Jackson trade you offered me was fucking garbage, by the way.
For Josh Allen, you mean?
Yeah, that was garbage.
Hey, I did a trade calculator, and it said I actually gave you more value than what Josh Allen was worth.
Right now, but then what happens when DeAndre Hopkins comes back? Because you offered me Marquise Brown, too.
Yeah, I offered you Aaron Rodgers.
No, you offered
Hollywood
me Lamar
Brown.
Jackson.
No, I don't have Lamar. I offered you Aaron Rodgers.
All right, well, that deal was even more garbage.
I offered you Aaron Rodgers, Hollywood Brown, and a pick.
Say what pick it was.
Didn't I offer you a third-round pick?
No, a fourth-round pick.
Oh, I meant to offer you a third-round pick.
Yeah, okay. So you offered
No, I really did.
For a 40-year-old quarterback almost, a wide receiver is going to be good for 6 weeks until DeAndre Hopkins comes back. But hey, at least I'll have a fourth-round pick.
Well, he's still going to be the number 2 wide receiver.
Well, when you're ready to talk serious, you know where to find me.
Yeah, I got you. But anyway, Kyrie just... Like, there's a lot of ifs about Kyrie because what if there's another strain of COVID? Is he going to play? What if the U.S. finds a UFO? Is he going to play? What if, like, literally, it could just rain slightly weird one day and he'd be like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to play today.
Yeah,
So
he's a flake. They need to get rid of him.
exactly. So it's like you're going to lock up all this money. Also, on top of that, that's not even getting into the fact that he does get hurt quite often. So now, when he's not missing half the season due to COVID, what happens if he gets hurt?
Well,
Then where are you at?
if you look at the COVID trajectory, not getting political or anything like that, but COVID's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. There's
Right.
probably going to be an upswing, and again in the once the fall comes, the winter time. It's probably going to go dormant a little bit in the summer, hopefully, so people get a little break, and then we're going to go back to masking and all this other stuff, and then things are going to get nasty. If I were the Nets, I wouldn't be looking to take that chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So you might as well get something for him, and just get somebody like Kevin Durant that Kevin Durant wants, because obviously this was like this whole friendship thing that they had in the first place. But so moving on real quick, another good segue. We're on a roll here. Kevin Durant called out the Stephen A's, the Skip Baylesses, says they changed the game for the worst.
No.
Do you agree or disagree?
No. I mean, I don't like either of those two guys. However, the players have changed the game for the worse by acting like a bunch of prima donnas, not playing, injured, or getting hurt with an ailment that isn't that severe, but they want to take 3 weeks off. Guys being interested in being friends with everybody. Everybody's hugging and kissing after the games now. There's no competitive fire anymore. There's no Bill Lambiers of the world. There's no Isaiah Thomases or Larry Birds or any of those guys who just, when they got on the floor, there was the possibility of a brawl taking place. There's no, malice in the. Russell Westbrook is still a guy like that. Like he'll go after people. Like he's got that, but a lot of the media has just ruined not just sports, but it just ruined anything in general, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you fall on. Both sides are garbage, and guys like Stephen A. and the Skips who like to just make outlandish claims just to get people to engage them and get clicks and follows and all this stuff. They don't help, but the way guys act in the NBA, aka asking for out of a city that they signed an extension for, and like I said, there's no competitive fire. Everybody is out for money, and guys want to sit out instead of getting a COVID vaccination. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that he should have. I'm just saying, I mean, people who genuinely want to play, Andrew Wiggins, will inject bleach into their body to play. I don't think Kyrie cared about it. I just think he just, I'm sure he believes in what he believes in, but I don't think he was going out of his way to try to get on the floor. So, yeah, I think guys like that are what has ruined the game. LeBron has certainly done, he likes to say stupid shit, That's why I'm kind of excited, though, because you got the best player in the league coming up is Luka. And if anybody doesn't care about what anybody thinks about him, it's Luka Doncic. So
True.
I'm looking forward to when the LeBrons of the world go away, the Kyrie Irvings of the world go away. I don't mind James Harden. He's not good anymore, but I'm looking forward to this next batch of young guys. The LaMelo Ball doesn't care what anybody says about him. Luka doesn't care what anybody says about him, and I think the game will transition to a better point once those guys take over the reins of the NBA.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I even liked watching Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant fight with each other because they didn't like each other. Joel Embiid doesn't give a damn what anyone thinks, and he used to talk trash on everybody on social media. And then you got other players also making jokes about people on social media and throwing shots and everything. Like it should be it's a competition. It's not a friendship league. It's a competition. Like stop trying to throw love and everything out there. Just you're competing against these guys in the off season. I don't care. Like do whatever. But when you're in the season, you're competing against these guys. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I love this guy so much. He's so good. He's so cool. He's so this. He's so that. Like, we don't need all that. But I will say, I'm hoping that Kevin Durant was talking change the game, as in the analysis game, because in that regard, I think that Stephen A., the Skips, the Shannon Sharps have changed the analysis game for the worse. Because all they do is just throw ridiculous hot takes out there with no backing, with no stats, with no reasoning, and it's literally just to get more views.
Somebody wanted to say goodnight to me.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to bed.
Oh, well, all right.
Are you live?
We're live.
Oh.
Yep. So, like, and that has just killed everything, because now the main people that get, like, the most views on ESPN or the most views on YouTube or whatever it may be, like, even guys now, I've seen a couple, Philly radio people get fired that, like, I don't know, I necessarily didn't agree with them all the time, but the people they hired now, I used to watch on YouTube, but then they got to this point where all they do is just shout random bullshit, and then radio stations and stuff are like, yeah, let's get that guy, because he just shouts all this stuff, and people watch him because he's just shouting random stuff, not even anything that actually makes sense about the sport that they're talking about. But that's also, like, why guys like J.J. Redick and C.J. McCollum, and even, I would say, like, Tim Legler, and back in the day, reference Stuart Scott, even Ernie Johnson, these guys that not necessarily have played in the league, but that actually give a fuck about whatever sport they're covering and can give you some very thoughtful analysis and actually break stuff down in the sport that they're covering. Those guys are such a breath of fresh air because they're so few and far between. Even though everyone shouts their praises online, they can never get hired at these big places because all they want are these hot take people. I mean, even Tony Romo, a lot of people love watching his broadcast because he can break down every play he sees and he can predict plays coming up. Like, these kind of analysts and commentators and play-by-play announcers are the ones that I think should be running a lot of the national media and all of these outlets rather than the Stephen A's and the Skip Baylesses.
Well, that's why I enjoy watching, Ernie, Kenny, Charles, Shaq. Because and Charles don't give a fuck. He just says whatever comes to his mind. He'll bash people. And, Shaq's the same way. Ernie's more composed, but he's just the biggest sweetheart on the planet anyway. So, I mean, Ernie Johnson doesn't have a bad bone in his body, and he just I just want to hug him. I would love to meet him one day. He's just such a great dude.
Agreed.
But yeah, like Stephen A. and Skips, they add nothing to anything. Either of them, they're just there to get attention and be loud, and that's about it. So, but yeah, I definitely do agree. The analysis overall is, I mean, we're blending that line between sports and politics,
right?
Which is, the NBA has, the ratings have gone down, the revenue has gone down, and a big reason for that is because you have people just chiming in on stuff that has nothing to do with basketball. And it's hard for the working man of the world, the guy who's, working 40 plus hours a week as a fucking mechanic, and comes home all greasy and dirty to, a bunch of screaming kids and shit, and you just want to eat dinner, and you've worked a hard day, or you're throwing hay in a tractor or something. It's hard to relate to a guy like Anthony Davis who stubs a toe and is out for 6 weeks, but yet still gets paid millions of dollars, and then complains about everything. Like, how long the season is.
Another good segue. Adam Silver talked about, shortening the season in his interview that he always does before the finals. Talked about also like an in-season tournament and everything. I don't see a need for an in-season tournament. I mean, sure, it probably would be a little exciting, but I don't really see a need for it. The big thing that they're trying to combat is to just make each game more meaningful, such as like in the NFL, if you lose a game, that's a big deal. But like in the NBA, if you lose one game, you have 81 more to make up that game. It's always been like that. The same thing with, even hockey. You have plenty of games. If you lose a game, it's not a big deal. Baseball, good Lord, you can lose 40 games and it's not a big deal.
You could be under 500 in baseball and still win the World Series.
Exactly. So, we're not even including baseball in any of that. But essentially what they want to do is equate to the NFL. Unless they shorten the season to like 20 games, you're never going to get as meaningful of each game as the NFL is going to get. Like, it's just not going to happen. Because even if you shorten it to like 60, you can still lose a couple games and it doesn't matter. So,
well, it really depends on who wants. Not to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Who wants to shorten the season? It's the same people who constantly bitch about everything else. There are guys who are still looking to earn an opportunity to play. If guys get played on guys get paid looking for opportunities to advance. If we're going to do that, let's expand the rosters then. If LeBron doesn't want to play, let somebody else play. I'm okay with watching young, up-and-coming talent, but then the problem is that when LeBron doesn't play, people don't watch. Right. When Giannis doesn't play, people don't watch. So I don't see them shortening the season because they're already losing money as it is. TV ratings are down, and you're not going to help yourself. You literally you have to change the culture in the NBA. First off, they enable these guys to be weak, and they put a lot of power in the hands of the players, especially when it comes to negotiating and all this type of stuff. So you need to kind of make it known that not one player is bigger than the National Basketball Association. You got to get back down to the basics. It doesn't matter what political affiliation, it doesn't matter what you support, blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of people who just want to watch sports, and there's a lot of good messaging going on in the NBA, don't get me wrong, and things like that. I'm not opposed to that type of stuff at all, but there's a time and a place for it. And honestly, I don't think the NBA is – a lot of people want to see that kind of stuff. So that kind of has to do with you need to bring your viewers back, and I don't think shortening the season is the way to do it. So guys need to toughen up and realize you're only playing 82 games. All right, they already made the move too to decrease the amount of back-to-back. So what the fuck else do you want?
Right, exactly. And I like last year. I think it was last year, or the year before, was a 72 game season instead of 82.
Right.
At most, I would shorten it to 72 because, like, the 72 game season was still, I think, perfectly entertaining. It was, it's essentially the same. It's just minus, like 2 weeks worth of games. So it wasn't even that big of a deal. So,
well,
go ahead.
No, I didn't want to forget what I was going to say. Basically, the last 4 or 5 games of the regular season don't mean a fucking squat to most teams anyways. Exactly. But then if you cut it down to 72, then it's going to still be 5 games that don't matter anyways. Because there are going to be a lot of teams who are in the same position they would be whether you play 72 games or 172 games. There's going to be guys resting players. I guess the only way I love the play-in.
I do too, yeah.
I hated it before, but now I absolutely like it because it serves its purpose. It still gives it. I wouldn't be opposed to expanding the play-in if these teams, like if the teams who did well throughout the year, if you want to give them a little break and expand the play-in, that's fine. But then the problem is if you have these good teams get an extended time off, then they're going to get rusty. But I'm all for that. If you're going to if you want to extend the season or shorten this regular season, fine. But let's expand the play-in tournament then.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. And it could go both ways too. Those better teams, they could get rusty, but they also could get healthier. They might have a guy who's like on the cusp of coming back, and then he gets back with that little bit of break in that play-in time. And I agree.
Love the play-ins. I thought the play-ins were great. That was some of the best TV that that you're going to watch. So even if you went to like best 2 out of 3 instead of like 1-for-1 or however you want to do it, that's fine.
Right.
But if and most of the bitching's coming from the guys like LeBron, Kyrie. LeBron's the ultimate opportunist. He only bitches when it's something that's going to favor him. He he bitches when guys were going into the bubble to play for COVID. Then he was bitching because he couldn't play because he got a false positive on his COVID test. So these guys are never going to be happy. But the good thing is that LeBron's only going to be around at least actively playing for a couple more years, and then we'll let the real men take over. Luka, even Joel Embiid this season, like as much as I shit on Joel Embiid, the guy like earned my respect. He came back, he played, and he had a torn thumb ligament, broken face. Like he had all this shit going on, and he was still playing. He played 78 games, I think it was, something like that.
Something around there. I think it was a little less than that, but
yeah. But then you can't count some of those because he had COVID. So
exactly. That was the bulk of the reason why he was out as long as he was.
Right.
And he had like a really bad case, like lost weight, all sorts of things.
That didn't happen to me, I tell you
that. Me neither. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for the NBA is definitely the whole stigma behind resting players and everything. I mean, I'll even say this past season was the only season I've ever had season tickets for the Sixers. And it was my only time I was finally going to actually see LeBron play in person. Which, like, as a basketball fan in general, I want to see the greats actually play. But then he was out for, like, knee soreness. And it was just like, really? That, like...
I mean, that's where too, the NBA injury report has to get tweaked, too, because this whole... We're not revealing whether that's not fair for people who pay for tickets. Like,
right.
If you're not going to be in, like, you should maybe establish or even if you have a national TV deal, if your starters aren't playing, give the option to swap out what teams are going to get the national attention.
Right.
There were millions of times where the Lakers were scheduled well in advance. Anthony Davis wasn't playing. LeBron hurt his ankle, and so the Lakers were, rolling with. Horn Tucker, Westbrook, Dwight Howard, and all this other Avery Bradley and all this other crap. So,
and that's the thing too is like one thing that the NFL does do well is they flex those games into primetime spots. So why can't the NBA do the same thing when you have like 12 games on in the same day? And a lot of those started, like, changing a start time to a game from 7 to 7:30 is nowhere near of an impact in the NFL of changing a game from, like, 1 to, like, 4:30 or 8:30. So Why can't they, like, that should be something easy to do. So the fans get there a little earlier than the tip-off starts. Like,
who cares? They could have the guy with the shirt cannon shoot shirts and watch people do flips and shit.
Exactly.
But the thing is, they usually, they roll heavy on Wednesday nights and Friday nights. You might have to add a couple more games so that you have that ability to swap out.
Or even pick a different night. Friday nights, a lot of times people like to go out and do things. Maybe pick like a Tuesday night.
Yeah, but the big night for basketball, I think, where Friday night's not the problem, right? You have 10 games. It's Thursday night. Like, I watch Friday night basketball. I love it. I look forward to it. Thursday night is a game you get like 2-3 games on, 4 or 5 games.
And if one of them's bad, the other one's that West Coast game that starts at like 10:30, and then you can't stay up for it.
Right. So your whole night's fucked.
Right. Exactly. So to finish things off here, do you think Jalen Brunson will go to the Knicks, or do you think he will stay in Dallas?
He's probably going to stay in Dallas because they can pay him more money. He is real close with his dad, though. So, I don't know. If he was smart, I'd stay right away from New York City.
Oh, completely agreed. I would not go anywhere near... If you want career longevity and a higher chance at playing in a championship, don't go to the Knicks.
Right, because I have a feeling like when Luka was out, like Brunson was playing great. He was definitely the number one option for the Mavericks. But something happens when you get to New York. I don't know if it's the White Castle or the shopping cart pretzels or the hot dogs and the dirty water or whatever the fuck it is, but you just just not good. Stay away from New York. And I think the only reason, I mean, because we got to remember, I think Rick Brunson had something where he had some allegations against him.
Oh yeah, something weird like that. I forgot.
So
about
that. Possibly, I may be getting it wrong, but so I don't want to speculate or say anything that might not be correct. But if that were the case, which I believe it's the case, but I'm not 100% correct or sure, for them to bring in somebody like that where you're going to get backlash for some reason,
right,
is an obvious play to get Jalen Brunson.
True.
He trains with his dad. His dad's really close to him. His dad's a big reason why he's such a good player right now. But is that going to be enough to lure him away from Dallas? A place where the taxes aren't as high, so you're keeping more of the money, and you have bird years, so the Mavs can pay you more money.
The weather's better.
The weather's better. Barbecue, chicks, dudes, if you're into that, you know.
Probably like everywhere to drive and park is better because New York City is always a shit show.
New York City is a train wreck when it comes to traffic. The traffic in New York City is the worst. Like, I don't even know. Like, they need to just tell people stop driving.
Exactly. I don't know why anybody would, to be honest. But if there's anyone that goes to the Knicks in this offseason, like a big name person, I think it's Donovan Mitchell. And I don't think it's like something that he specifically says like trade me to the Knicks and only the Knicks. But I just think that, you know, if I'm the Knicks, if Donovan Mitchell's available, I would probably throw in like Julius Randle and some other people. So then the Knicks would be, the Jazz would be forced to consider it. So
yeah, but we've also heard a lot of things over the years about the Knicks. LeBron,
true.
AD, Kyrie, KD. Guess who's not on the Knicks? LeBron, AD, KD, Kyrie. Nobody.
Yeah. I just think, to me, it's more of like a gut feeling.
They do have Evan Fournier, though. Look out.
And Kemba Walker, who played half a season because they just decided to bench him.
I can't bash Kemba Walker, though.
Oh, I'm not bashing Kemba. I'm just saying the Knicks were like, oh, yeah, we got Kemba, and then benched him.
Yeah, but you have Kemba. Okay, you're sitting for the rest of the year.
But
now he's a guy who should go to Miami.
True. Kemba would at least give you some better minutes and more playing time than Lowry.
Meatball. That's my new name.
But I think that is it for us, unless you have anything else to get off your chest.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, me too. That technical difficulties made this thing go forever. We've been out here an hour and a half.
You made us sit here longer.
I know.
It
wasn't on purpose.
That's what you try to get for getting on. And then I was like the host, and that went terrible. Yeah. That can never happen again.
Never again.
No.
But that is it for us, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell for the notifications below to let you know whenever we go live, because our schedule changes all the time. If you're watching on Twitch, do the same. For those who don't know, we're on Twitch. The Atlantic Files is our Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/The Atlantic Files. YouTube, The Atlantic Files. Everywhere else, Atlantic Files. Search it. You'll find us. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, share it with a friend. Because you can be like Tyler, who's here all the time, and we shout you out, and we can't have an episode without you. I mean, Tyler gets shouted out literally every episode, even the episode he wasn't here. So
I know it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same without him.
Exactly. The moral of the story is be like Tyler.
Right.
But that's it for us. Thank you for watching and listening to another episode of The Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.